If I ask you one question, according to you, what is poem? What is poetry? Because poetry is an art, okay? And that is why whenever we explain poems in the classroom, you are actually enjoying that experience, that you are actually going through that artistic beauty of any poet. But sometimes you might be feeling that what the poet wants to convey, okay? And whenever you are reading a poem, basically poem can be deal. If I'm explaining you a poem, I always used to say that that you can read a poem. First of all, you go through its literal meaning. Thereafter, you see what is the metaphorical expression. And finally, you all come to know that what is the symbolical meaning of this poem. If you remember very well, when I was explaining you poem Wind, yaad hai? Then what did I tell you? That this poem has two different type of expression also. That okay, literal meaning is very simple, very easily you will understand what the poet wants to convey, but poet has some motive. Whenever he is actually writing, penning down the poem, definitely something is there in his mind, maybe some expression, some symbolical idea which he wants to convey through writing that beautiful piece of poem. And so we have to, it's very easy to read a poem. Literal meaning is very easy. During exams also, it will be easy and convenient for you, that the questions will definitely, most of the time, it will come from its literal meaning. And very easily you will be answering your questions. But since now you are in ninth standard, okay, quite a mature age, I want you to learn poem from different perspective. That is why I decided to explain you literary devices and different type of literary devices. I will also explain you that when you read a poem, I know that some of you might be feeling, oh, what ma'am is going to teach. But my dear children, definitely it will help you to read poem and to understand poem in different manner, because now you will not only look at its literally meaning, you will also try to find out that what was the purpose of the poet when he wrote this poem, what message he wanted to convey to the world through its readers through these poems. Poems are very simple. In standard 9, poems are simple, but still you will, when you will go through a poem like not only wind, or no, not only a slumber did my spirit seal, or not only the lake eyes lay at Innisfree, but you will find out that why the poet, what was the purpose, because all poems are different. If you read a poem like Duck and Kangaroo, you will find it funny. But if you read a poem like Wind, you will find it that it is so interesting, and as well as a strong message the poet want to convey. Similarly, Road Not Taken, if you remember that Robert Frost autobiographical poem, that what was the purpose, and no men are foreign. So you will find out the patriotism. So each and every poem is different, and there is a purpose of writing a poem. So today I will explain you that how you can read poem more better, whatever a teacher is explaining you in the class. Rather, it will open your mind also, and you will love to enjoy poetry. So I have one PPT for you. Give me 1 minute so that I will start it. Now listen, children, when I say that you should love to read poems, okay, you should know the quality to appreciate a poem. Why do I say so? What is my purpose? Why am I saying that you should appreciate it? Because poetry takes a simple concept and makes it more powerful and beautiful. That's very important, because every poem, they have it has its own meaning, and poet has a purpose of writing down that particular poem. जैसे when you read, जैसे मैंने बताया ना, road not taken, it has some special purpose. Okay, then we have wind. Then yesterday when I explained you rain on the roof, thereafter you are also going to read beautiful poems like Lake Islet Innisfree, or maybe No Men Are Foreign. Every poem is different, and every poet has a peculiar element. It has a simple concept, and that is why poem become more powerful and more beautiful, है ना? क्योंकि जिस पोएम को पढ़ के आपको लगेगा कि ओ yes, this is the reason that poet decided to write this poem, definitely you will feel it that its more meaning is more powerful. Obviously, poetry is a form of expression. That means the poet is trying to express his ideas, his view, his emotion, his sensitiveness through a poem. Because how many of you are writing poems? Have you ever written a poem? If you have never written a poem, then my dear children, it is the time. You have enough time nowadays. You are sitting at your place. No, you are not wasting your time in commuting or going anywhere. So my dear children, read poem and then start penning down your emotion. How you can pen down your emotion? Whatever is coming to your mind. William Wordsworth, what he has said, that poetry is a spontaneous expression. That means, see, I will show you. I have that slide also, that what he wanted to convey. Uh, Poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. It takes its origin from emotion recollected in tranquility. What does it mean? Spontaneous. Do you know the meaning of spontaneous? You know the meaning of spontaneous, my dear children? If you know, then please write it in the chat box. Hmm? Spontaneous. Let me see. Okay. No one. Spontaneous का मतलब होता है natural. हिंदी में हम लोग इसको कह सकते हो स्वाभाविक, ओरिजिनल, फ्लोइंग, नो inartificial, you can say. All so spontaneous, that means you are not trying hard to think, automatically it will come to your mind, that feeling will come to your mind. For example, if you had been to any garden and if you see a blooming flower, okay, maybe the beauty of that flower will attract you, and automatically some ideas will come to your mind, which you would like to pen down. And if you have that rhythm, if you have that understanding how to write a poem, that beautiful idea will come in the form of a poem. Okay, so poem is poetry. Anyone can write poetry anywhere. It's up to you that how you are writing poem. So there is no definition of poem, but yeah, poetry is a form of expression. That means whatever is coming to your mind, you are simply trying to express that piece through poetry. It helps us understand and appreciate the world around us. That means when you will look here and there, those who are artists, those who are writers, they are always ready to get a plot, idea, है ना? एक राइटर को तुम देखोगे, यहाँ ट्रैवल करेगा, वहां ट्रैवल करेगा, लोगों से मिलेगा, he will have chit chat with people, he will have a conversation with people. Why? Because he would like to know what people are thinking. Okay, जैसे नहीं कहते theme, he will try to collect a plot and idea and theme for his writing. And while doing all these things, what will happen? He will understand, appreciate the world around us. क्योंकि मान लो आज तुम्हें, for example, तुम्हें एक जापान की स्टोरी लिखनी है, then what will you do? You will try to collect ideas from through literature. Maybe if you get an opportunity to interact with people from Japan, so what will happen? You will understand that particular place more than anyone else. Then poetry teaches us how to live. क्यों? क्योंकि poetry में बहुत सारा emotions है. Yes, when you write down poetry, you are actually pouring your heart. You are penning down all the emotional aspect. Then poetry can have a positive impact on the social and emotional learning of children. That is why it is always important to read poems, चाहे वो हिंदी poems हो, जिसमें भी आप, या English हो. So I will also always encourage you to read even Hindi poems, English also, because it will have a positive impact on your social. Now, what is songs जो हैं हमारे? I'm not talking about the rubbish songs which is now in use. or today, and you know, the artist, they are actually spoiling everything. But if you listen a nice song, a nice bhajan, that is also a form of poetry. वो भी एक तरह का poem है. Then what happens? If I say, आज भी मैं कहूँ कि ए मेरे वतन के लोगो, have you heard this song? All of you might have heard. अब इस सॉन्ग को सुन के आज भी 15th अगस्त हो, 26 जनवरी हो, या एनी अदर डे, यू विल हैव गूज़बम्प्स. नो, आज भी तुम्हें ये पोएम उतना ही ये करेगा, अपील करेगा. "ऐ मेरे वतन के लोगों जरा आंख में भर लो पानी." Now what is that? That is also a type of poem. So heart, what will happen emotionally and socially, it will help you to grow up. Then poetry changes the concept of mind, है ना. बहुत सारे poems होते हैं, बहुत ही young songs होते हैं. They are so much encouraging that when you go through those poems, when you read those poems, you will feel a kind of inspiration in yourself. No, तो ये पोएम होता है that change the concept of mind from negativity to positivity. तमसो माँ ज्योतिर्गमय, okay, mrityo ma amritam gamaya. So these are the forms of poetry, either shlokas or anything you are reading nowadays. हिंदी में भी बहुत सारे poems तुमने पढ़े होंगे. If you remember that they are full of vigor, vitality. Last year also during 8th standard you would have read some poems. APJ Abdul Kalam, that poem I still remember. It's so inspiring, no? So it changes the concept of your mind, and obviously it gives new dimension to your life. तो पोइट्री पढ़ना बहुत जरूरी है. दैट्स व्हाई whenever you are reading a poetry, don't read only to for the sake of examination कि okay मैंने पढ़ लिया and I will be able to write down answers nicely in during exam. That's all. No, you should never do that. Rather, okay Vishnukant, I would love to read your poem, but only in class 5. अभी क्यों नहीं लिख रहे हो? I would like you to start writing poems nowadays. कुछ भी लिख दो ना, पेंडेमिक पे लिख दो, कोरोना पे लिख दो, okay, and then send it to me. I would like to, मैं अपना उस पे comments दूंगी तुम्हें. Now see, elements of poetry. Now whenever a poet or a writer is using something, what type of elements he is using, जो तुम्हें भी अभी समझना है. First of all, three things are very important. Imagery, I will explain you what is imagery. Rhythm, जो rhyme scheme की आप बात करते हो ना, rhythm, that is very good. Okay, Vishnu, I would love to read your poem. So rhythm, rhythm बहुत जरूरी है, but most of the time I will explain you that also, that it is not important all the time that your poem should have the rhyme scheme. But yeah, when you are a beginner, जब आपने शुरू किया है लिखना, then it's good that you should have that rhythm in your poem. And then sound. So that we will discuss. Now, what is imagery? Definitely it will come to your mind. What is imagery? Now see, मैं हमेशा बोलती हूँ ना while explaining you the poems कि imagine करो, pen portray करो. What does it mean? Imagery is the use of words to create pictures or images in your mind. You know, this is a kind of, it is also a figure of speech, literary device, अलंकार. अलंकार क्यों जरूरी है? Because आप अलंकृत करते हो. When you आप अपने आप को आप अलंकृत करते हो ना, when you wear a nice dress, accessories, so in that manner you are actually decorating yourself. So when you are writing down something, तुम्हें पता है ना, in the previous classes your teacher would have told you to use idioms and phrases while writing down your answers. Why? To beautify the language. Okay? That if you are writing something like, oh, he was dreaming, he was always dreaming, he was a daydreamer. You can also use that sentence that he used to build castles in the air. False dreams, castles in the air. Okay? He was surprised to see him. You can also write down, oh, he was taken aback to see him. So these are some words which you are using. There is always a silver lining in dark clouds. नहीं कहते हैं, there is always a hope. So you can also beautify your sentence like writing, there is always a silver lining in dark cloud. So why you do this? In order to beautify the language. Okay? So basically you decorate the language. So that is the job of figure of speech, literary devices. Hindi also you would have learned about Alankar. Previous class में पढ़ा था ना, और J section nowadays also you might be listening, you know, teacher might be explaining you. So this is now imagery. This is very important because क्या होता है ना कि जब आप एक movie देखते हो, when you watch something, then your imagination is actually not working because the director, whoever has directed that movie, definitely he will present everything through form of pictures, visual imagery. But if you are reading a novel, if you are reading a poem, and the pictures are not present, then what happens? They ask you to imagine it. Now I will set one example कि जब जूनियर क्लासेस में आप लोग थे, क्लास नर्सरी, LKG, UKG, डू यू रिमेम्बर दैट बुक, नर्सरी राइम बुक? याद है वो बुक्स, हमटी डमटी हैड अ ग्रेट फॉल, ओके, और या फिर ट्विंकल ट्विंकल लिटिल स्टार, बाबा बाबा ब्लैक शिप? तुमने देखा होगा कि वो बुक्स जो होते थे ना बहुत कलरफुल होते थे, नो? याद है वो बहुत कलरफुल है. इफ यू हैव एनी younger sibling, then you can see the books, that nursery rhymes book. They are very colorful, full of lot of pictures. मतलब अल्फाबेट के लिए अगर है A for apple, then there will be a big apple, and other things also will be there. Aeroplane. Why? Because at that point of time, children cannot imagine. They don't have so much ideas. Their mind is actually very, you can say, pure. बहुत ज्यादा ideas नहीं होते हैं. So the teacher or the child love to see the picture, and then with the help of that picture he started imagining things. Okay, when he look at the twinkling stars and read the poem, then what happened? That words, that imagination, that picture help him to imagine the entire thing. But when you grow older, when you come to the senior classes, you would have seen that there is hardly any picture in your book, no? If you look at your English book, बहुत rare pictures होंगे, very little picture you will find out, and that also very black and white, not very colorful picture, not very appealing. Why is it so? Why you don't get that colorful books? Because now we expect, the teacher expect that you should start imagining things on your own. Now you should have a power of imagination, एक imagination हो आपके पास. Okay, so for that reason we are asking you to imagine things on your own. Now, how you will do that? You will, so whenever something you are reading or the teacher is explaining in the classroom, or maybe a poem is being read, then what do? You started creating picture, images in your mind. And you know how it appeals to whom? It appeals to your five senses: smell, sight, hearing, taste, and touch. So when you use these five senses, चाहे वो, if you are hearing, कोई music सुन के भी आप imagine करते हो, okay, that also is a sound imagery, it is known as. If you see something, then that is known as visual imagery. Other imaginations are also there, which that is not used, but बहुत ज़्यादा नहीं. Okay, so you know what happens? Then you try to find out. You try to find out about that smell, that sound, that colors. Means if someone is explaining that the entire place was having the red color, then you started imagining, because now you recognize red color. You are not a kid. So what do? You started imagining that particular place, that it is colored. The red color is existing there. So then taste also, and most strong images. Then the sound images. So this create vivid images which writers use. Okay, so imagery is very important. It helps you to imagine the things which you are reading. Then come to rhythm. Rhythm is the flow of beat in a poem. As I told you that most of the poems are rhythmic. Okay, specifically if you talk about the children, nursery rhymes. वहाँ पे कहा ही जाता है rhymes, which has a rhythm. When you sing a poem like Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, the star, how I wonder what you are, आ गया, up above the world so high, high, like a diamond in the sky. So what happens? The teacher is singing that poem in the classroom in order to bring rhythm, so that the child will get more attracted to it. But when you come to standard ninth, okay, then you read a poem like Wind also, which has no rhythm, but still it has a strong meaning. याद है ना, विंड में कोई रिदम नहीं है. और तब मैंने बताया था कि द पोएम विच हैज नो राइमिंग स्कीम, दे आर रिटन इन एक्चुअली इन द फॉर्म ऑफ फ्री वर्ड्स. उसे हम लोग क्या कहते हैं, फ्री वर्ड्स. दैट आई विल एक्सप्लेन यू लेटर ऑन. सो इट इज नॉट इम्पॉर्टेंट ऑल द टाइम टू हैव rhyme scheme, but still a poem can has rhythm. A poem can still have rhythm even if it has no rhyme scheme. How? You will definitely wonder, ये कैसे हो सकता है without having the rhyme scheme, how a poem can be sung. But if I say that yes, you can still sing a poem without even having a rhyme scheme. जैसे अब छोटा सा मैं एग्जाम्पल दे रही हूँ, because this is your poem, that's why I will take this. That if you sing a poem like Wind, come softly. Don't break the shutters of the windows. Don't scatter the papers. Don't throw down the books on the shelf. There, look what you did. You threw them all down. You tore the pages of the books. You brought rain again. You are very clever at poking fun at weaklings. Now, do you find it rhythmical? What do you say, my dear children? Is it, even though there was no rhythm, it was written in free verse, but the way it has been, poetry recitation, the way it has been recited, you will feel the flow of beat in this poem. And then musical feel can be fast or slow depending on mood and subject of the poem. As I told you, it depends that which poem you are going through, what type of mood it has, whether it is a patriotic poem or it is simply a poem which want to convey a message, or it is a happy poem. Because a poem, when you will read different type of poems in your I'm just quoting example of your ninth book, that when you will read poems like maybe I told you Wind, but if you will read a poem like No Men Are Foreign, which is full of patriotism, or maybe if you will read a poem Duck and Kangaroo, then what will happen? So every poem has different mood. Poems have different mood, and that you have to find out while going through that poem. You will find out that what the poet wants to convey through that poem. So if I take one example, one more happy example, it depends on the mood of the poem. As I told you, that if there is a poem in your book, Duck and Kangaroo by Edward Lear, that you will read. See what happens, it's a happy poem, simple poem. So you can also read, oh, said the duck to kangaroo, good gracious, hop you to, how you hop over the fields and water too, as if you will never stop. Okay, so it's a happy poem. This is basically a happy poem. So you will read this poem in a happy mood. So it depends that what type of poem you are reading. And so the rhythm depends on you. Now, see, there is one example of rhythm, The Pickety Fence by David McCord. The pickety fence, give it a lick. It's the pickety fence. Okay, give it a lick. So now these poems can be read in junior classes. Now, a sound, as I told you, writers love to use interesting sounds in their poem. After all, poems are meant to be heard. Bang, 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 scissors. So sounds also somehow you can find in the poem. But why poetry is important? As I told you, because it helps you to have a strong speaking and listening quality. Build a reading and speaking. You can see here reading, because when you will read a poem, you will try to speak nice manner. You will try to have that rhythm in your voice. You will pronounce it nicely. So you will read also, you will speak also. And when someone is speaking a poem, someone is actually reciting a poem in the classroom, it will also help you to improve your listening skill. Okay, then explore language and vocabulary. That is again very important. It will help you to know about your language. You will try to find out meaning. word meaning. You will also try to find out various literary devices. So you will learn more and more about it and inspire writing. That's why I'm telling you, my dear children, whoever is in my class, I want all of you to start writing some poems. चाहे वो 4 lines का ही क्यों ना हो, but I want you to write some poems, because what will happen? You will start penning down your emotions. Encourage creative thinking. So when you will, someone will inspire to write some poem, it will definitely encourage your creative thinking and evoke feelings, which is very important. Nowadays, we have become very practical, pragmatic. So it is important for you children to have feelings, to be sensible towards this world. Okay. Now, I'm coming to the point why it is essential to teach literary devices, why it is important. Listen, children, English is a language, it is not a subject. Okay, subject wo tab aayega when you are simply writing your English papers. So there you can call it a subject. Okay, English is a subject. But basically it's a language. I have always emphasized on one thing, that you should learn a new language, and that is why. But सिर्फ language को learn करना नहीं है. This is not the only thing that which as a teacher I want you to have in your life. That you have learned a language and it's okay. I want you to learn it nicely. I want you to use it methodically. That is my purpose. Okay. So when you will read this literary devices, it will help you to learn this language. Okay, Vishnu. Yeah, I will eagerly wait for your poem. So when you read, when you learn a language, एक language जब आप सीखते हो, तो don't you want to learn different techniques so that you will make that language more beautiful? So this is the purpose of knowing this literary device, because literary device presents ordinary things in fresh ways, communicate ideas which go beyond words, ordinary meaning. है ना? जैसे मैंने बताया ना, I gave you some example that if you are writing down something very simple, जैसे किसी के बारे में अगर आप लिख बोलते हो कि oh I was waiting for you for last 2 hours, तो एक सिंपल सेंटेंस है कि भाई बहुत देर से मैं वेट कर रहा था. अगर इसी को मैं एक हाइपर बोल यूज करके इस सेंटेंस को मैं ऐसे बोलूं, ओ आई हैव बीन वेटिंग फॉर यू फॉर एजेस, सदियों से, जैसे गाने वगैरह में सुनते हो ना, सदियों से मैं तुमसे प्यार करता हूँ. हाउ इज इट पॉसिबल? How a person cannot live more than 80-90 years. So sadiyon se, what does it mean? But that is a way of expression. In order to show the exaggeration, वो exaggerate नहीं कहते, बढ़ा चढ़ा के बोलता है कि oh I have been waiting for you for ages. So what happens? That means within the limited word, you are conveying more strong meaning, जो कि और कम्युनिकेटिव भी है और ब्यूटीफुल भी लगता है. इट लुक्स मोर अपीलिंग टू द लिसनर और इट लुक्स मोर अपीलिंग टू द राइटर. So that is why it is said that literary device presents ordinary things in fresh ways, communicate ideas that go beyond words, ordinary meaning. So it is, that's why whenever you are using literary devices while writing a poem, while writing any piece of work, you will find it out that your writing will become more effective, more appealing, more interesting. Okay. Now, literary devices are tools that a poet can use to create rhythm, meaning, emotion, and sensitivity. Poem can become more poetic. It intensify your mood or feeling. It embellish the language. Embellish means decorate the language, as I have told you, that alankar, alankrit, and it conveys more in less words. That is very important. That you want to say more, but since you have, अब भाई poem तो बहुत ज्यादा बड़ा नहीं होगा, you have to have that limitation. So what can be helpful? That within the limited words, you will be able to convey more and more to your readers. So it will be so nice, and you will love to read it. also you will love to write, because within the limited words you will be able to express your feeling. So you will become more expressive, and that is the thing. क्यों poem difficult लगता है बच्चों को? Because this is the reason that the poet is trying to convey more in less words. So when we are explaining poems in the classroom, you will find out, Q, it is such a small poem, but how thought provoking it is. Thought, and you have to be, because the poet has used very little words, but the meaning he wants to convey to his readers, they are actually very, very, very lot of meanings they want to convey. So these are the reasons that whenever you are reading a poem, you feel that within the limited words, the meaning the poet wants to convey, that is much larger. Okay.